Hi folks, it's Gene here. I'm taking pains to record this in a manner that doesn't identify the home. I'm posting this publicly. I'm going to conduct a quick landscape inspection, and this would be followed up by a written landscape status report and a proposal for some work. Let's start with, this is a dwarf yaupon. You look at it from a distance, you think boxwood blight, Phytophthora root rot, but now this is a dwarf yaupon. The boxwoods are over here, and indeed they do have some pretty serious, what I think is evidence of Phytophthora. Okay, so I think that this is an over-irrigated landscape. They have sprinkler heads in their beds, and as you know from my previous videos, sprinkler heads are designed for lawns. They should not be used in beds. Boxwoods and azaleas and hollies and Japanese yews and gardenias, they really should have a professional grade soaker hose system in their zone, and they should run much less frequently than the zones for the grass. Chlorotic azaleas, a replacement boxwood that's not doing so hot. You can see that it's a replacement, doesn't match the others. More evidence of possible Phytophthora. So to be thorough, we should probably take a Dutch auger and figure out what's going on. They've already lost one podocarpus and it's trying to sprout out from the stump, but obviously, look, the Japanese yews were happy, but since they lost one here, and I think that they're dealing with some drainage issues. The gardenias actually look okay. A little bit chlorotic, but in Houston, my experience has been, you ain't gonna get a much darker green than that anyway, so I'd be happy with that. I think we got some serious pH issues. This espaliered Cyananthus, Chinese fringe tree, wonderful, wonderful tree. Really nice espalier. It's not looking so hot. It's got to be treated for leaf spot disease. It's got to have a root collar excavation. It's got to have a root invigoration procedure, no doubt, no question. Needs to be on a program. You got this newly emergent summer foliage from recent rains that's already becoming distorted and deformed. It needs TLC big time. This should be super thick and dense, so I think they got to stop this whole practice of using hedge trimmers on this beautiful specimen and prune it by hand, because they're just removing all the new foliage and then there's nothing left. So this needs to be on a completely different care regime. We're gonna kind of gloss over the citrus. I go into citrus in other videos. What's wrong with my citrus tree here in Houston, just to go over it real quickly. Citrus leaf miner, citrus scale, citrus whitefly, pH, iron, manganese, root collar, root health. They tend to be root bound. They need root invigoration. They need root collar procedures. They need pH modification. Citrus psyllid, of course. Just a whole host of sucking insects. The chewing insects aren't that bad. Bird poop caterpillar, orange dog caterpillar. Don't see it that often. Okay. Fast forward to this dead red bud. Okay. What do we got going on? We got a buried root collar. We've got some lesions at the base with some wounding at the base. All that powder is from post-mortem or perimortem boring insect activity. That's not causal. Viburnums, again, inverted trapezoid. They should be an obverse trapezoid, narrower at the top, wider at the base. Standard horticultural practice. See it very rarely in this town. These should be pruned by hand and not by hedge trimmers if you want them to be happy. Osmanthus, sweet olive. Look at this beautiful summer foliage. Okay, now for the real. I'm guessing they called me because the olives and the red bud. So again, weed eater scarring at the base. The ground cover needs to be pruned, hand pruned away, minimum of 1 foot, preferably 2 feet away. See that blackening at the base, right? We're trapping moisture up against the trunk of this tree. I don't see any evidence of borers, ash lilac borer, for example. These are some super stressed out specimens, and they are in a low spot, so I would be checking drainage. But yeah, here, let me show you some weed eater damage. See those scars right there? That's from the weed eater. You get a protective ring around these trees, and don't let jasmine grow within 2 feet of them, and you'll have a much happier tree. I don't see any spray heads here, but I don't see any, oh, spray heads are right here. Yeah, so these pop up and they spray the trunk, and they can't be allowed to do that. No spray in the trunk. This whole bed, there's not a blade of grass. There shouldn't be a spray head anywhere here. Super shady spot for an olive though. So let's fast forward to the front. Again, I'm taking pains not to identify the house. 2 young established live oaks. They were probably pretty big when they were trucked in and planted, because these guys, when they plant the big ones, they put in these vent systems and then they immediately get filled in. So it's good that they're maintaining the ring, but it's time to do a root collar excavation and a root invigoration procedure and expand the diameter of the bed. Same thing here, really nice specimens. Mulch is good for trees as long as it doesn't touch the trunk or the root flare, and this puppy is buried. This needs a real solid root collar excavation, and again it needs a root invigoration procedure, especially focusing on the perimeter around 3 to 4 feet beyond the original root ball. You've got some root establishment here. Look at this big old root here. Big root extending all the way out to here. Pay no attention to the tropical sod webworms that are flying about the yard. Their yard guy doesn't have that under control. Anyway, surface roots, not to be surprised. The only organic matter and the only oxygen is in the first couple of inches of soil. Really nice Chinese elm. Same thing, root collar, root invigoration, expanded bed. Let's examine the trunk really closely for any evidence of Japanese maple scale. Don't see any, that's a good sign. Okay, really nice tree. And 2 established crepe myrtles. Now these have nicely defined root collars. See that? Root flare is well defined, and there's no ground cover going up against the trunks. So these things are in a lot better shape as far as their cultural conditions are concerned. I don't see any scale. I don't see much sooty mold either. So these look pretty good. If there's anything I missed, let me know. And we're gonna move on to the next property. Thank you.